Hey, good morning, Silver and Black Nation, and welcome to the Silver and Black Lair. I'm your host, the Bat Frie, Kenny Fry. I hope everybody's doing well. It's Friday. There we go. It's not a show until I start hollering nonsensical stuff. So there we go. Hollering Friday. All right, let's kick her off. Everybody's getting ready for the weekend. We got a comment already. And there it is. Eileen, what's up, Eileen? Friday. Everybody's working for the weekend. There it is. Friday. I hope you're doing well, Eileen. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for checking the show out. Much appreciated. Thank you for everything you do for the network. You share everything out. You're tagging and stuff like that. You do a great job. Thank you. All right, so let's jump into it here. And this one made me laugh for too many different reasons. Laugh, funny laugh, sadness laugh, just crazy laugh. It's a whole a variety of laughs going on with this one. Cliff Kingsbury declined the Raiders' offer to become their offensive coordinator. Seems like old news now. It seems like it was forever ago. I mean, since then, we've signed a new offensive coordinator. Cliff Kingsbury has signed to be an offensive coordinator for another team, the Washington Commanders or Redskins. Doesn't really matter to me what you want to call them. I like calling them the Redskins. That's how I still view them. I did see that they're trying to get the old emblem back. The chief, I can't think of the chief's name right now. I was just watching a clip about him on TikTok. There's a guy on TikTok that on the TikTok that does like the history of helmets, and it's actually a pretty neat TikTok. I can't think of the guy's name or the account, but it's a pretty neat TikTok where he goes through all sorts of different teams and the history of their helmets, all the different helmets that they've had, and it's really cool. But he went into the Washington Redskins and what the chief emblem meant, and who it was and what he was about and stuff. And I thought it was pretty cool. So now there's a group that a swell of support to get that back on the side of the helmet. Now, whether or not they'd change the name, I don't know, but I think that's pretty cool. Many other teams as well, whether it's high school, college, or whatever, what have you, keeping the Redskin name or even keeping that emblem on their helmets of the chief. So I think all that's pretty cool. There's too much cancel culture going on out there, and there has to be a limit. Some of the stuff is understandable. Some of the stuff is just nonsensical, idiocy. Like you have one group complaining that it's offensive, then you have another group saying it's not offensive. So who do you go with? Well, let's go with the group that says it's offensive because we don't want to offend anybody. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. Anyway, it's not what I'm here to talk about. Cliff Kingsbury, the Raiders offered, for what's being reported, the Raiders offered Cliff Kingsbury a 2-year deal. He wanted a 3-year deal, and he said, peace out, I'm out of here. And the reason he has the leverage to do that is because he had more offers. If nobody else was offering Kingsbury a job, well, then obviously he probably would have taken that 2-year deal and, accepted it, pretty much. So with him having more offers, he was able to just walk and accept the offer with the Washington Commanders. So it's funny because if you're a regular viewer of the show, the whole show or just sections of the show, whatever, I appreciate all of it. But last week, when it was announced that Kingsbury was going to become the Raiders' next offensive coordinator, there was nothing official. And I said on the show, because I talked about it in length about Cliff Kingsbury and what he could bring to the Raiders offensively and stuff. But I said on the show, it gave me, I said, now listen, there's a disclaimer here. Me being a Mets fan, I just went through this with Carlos Correa. I've never seen anything like it until about 2 years ago or last year. I don't know what it was. I think it was 2 years ago, where Carlos Correa was going to be a Met. After he just went through the whole thing with the Giants, he was going to be a Giant. They didn't like the physical. They tried changing the offer. He backed out of it. Well, then the Mets, for some reason, brought him in, offered him a huge contract. But when he failed the physical, they tried changing the offer. He declined. But it was being reported that Carlos Correa is going to be Met. You've seen all these lineups with Carlos Correa. What's it going to look like with Carlos Correa in this awesome Mets lineup? And he'll play second base, and Lindor's going to play shortstop. It's amazing. People out there buying Carlos Correa jerseys. Not so fast, my friend. Carlos Correa said, "No, I'm not signing for a lesser deal. Sign me for who I am. I'm healthy. Or don't sign me at all." Well, the Mets didn't sign him at all. He walked. He signed with the Minnesota Twins, and that's history. So I said last week about Kingsbury that until you see that official announcement, until you see that come across, ESPN breaking news, ESPN's reporting Cliff Kingsbury has signed as the Raiders offensive coordinator, or the CBS Sports saying Cliff Kingsbury has signed as the Raiders offensive coordinator. You can't believe any of it. You can't buy into it until it's made 100% official, either through the team's website or the team's app, or some ESPN, CBS News saying it's official. The rest of it's just speculating nonsense. So that's what happened. And I called it last week. I'm not overly happy that I called it, but I'll tell you what, I was pretty thrilled. Like, Jesus Christ, I got something right here. This is pretty cool. Next time, I don't get many things right. I'm just kind of up here blabbering, just for entertainment purposes. I like to entertain people. Speaking of entertaining, here we go. Stacy Northrup checking in. What's up, Stacy? Happy Friday. Stacy is a co-host of the Big Blue Power Hour here on the Out of the Box Sports Network. She talks New York Giants football. A little bit of Tommy Cutlets there. So, Kingsbury moves on. Raiders move on. I hate calling back to past shows, but again, if you watch the show every week, 2 weeks ago, I talked about all the different offensive coordinator possibilities. Kingsbury was one of them. The lad from the LA Rams, I can't think of his name right now. I think Zach Robinson, I believe. There was a couple other. But I also said Luke Getsy from Chicago is another name that I've seen out there in the Twitter sphere or on the Google. And Luke Getsy. So I looked into Luke Getsy a little bit, former Bears offensive coordinator. I said on the show 2 weeks ago that I could really see him being the next offensive coordinator for the Raiders, because Antonio Pierce says he wants to be a run-heavy offense that can stretch the field. And if you look at Luke Getsy's stats or his offense, it's a run-heavy offense that stretches the field. So it just made sense to me. But again, it was with the Bears, so who really knows? What's accurate, what's not, what's in garbage time, what's not. And the Bears did beat us last season, so I shouldn't be poo-pooing the Bears because they poo-pooed all over us. Bears shit everywhere. So I said I could see Luke Getsy being the next offensive coordinator. Lo and behold, 2 days ago, Luke Getsy named offensive coordinator, and it's official. It's an official proclamation, signed on a dotted line. Ink is dried. We're good. So, hip, hip, hooray. We got an OC. In the words of the great Stone Cold Steve Austin, a sip of iced tea for the working man. He says beer or Diet Red Bull. If you ever listen to that Stone Cold podcast, which I used to love listening to. I used to listen to it a lot. Where I used to work, I used to listen to him and the Rowdy Piper podcast. Rest in peace there. They're Rowdy Piper. I loved Rowdy Piper's podcast. It just, be talking and all of a sudden just fly off on a tangent and just going nuts. It was awesome. Chaotic. Loved chaos. So Luke Getsy named offensive coordinator. And there's also a report out there that Chip Kelly former Oregon coach, former Philadelphia Eagles head coach, former, I don't know if he's former or not, but UCLA coach. Chip Kelly interviewed twice for the offensive coordinator job position with the Las Vegas Raiders. And so we go with Luke Getsy. A couple quick things on Luke Getsy. I have Getsy. I'm really struggling talking again. It's back to back. Wednesday with the Bat Cave was a shit show. I couldn't talk. I was stumbling over my words. Here on the Silver and Black Lair, the same things. It's going to be a long show. Luke Getsy. There's a couple things that I jotted down. 17 years coaching experience. So he's been around the block. Last two seasons with the Bears as offensive coordinator. Ranked second last season in rushing attempts, 534, and second in rush yards, 2,399 yards rushing, and also second in yards per game, 141.1, which is much better than anything that we sniffed at last season. Another bonus there, DJ Moore, their top receiver, their number one, had a career high in receptions with 96 and yards, 1,364, and also touchdowns, 8. And another stat that I really like seeing, Cole Kmet, their tight end, also had career high in receptions, 73, and receiving yards, 719. So that tells me Luke Getsy likes to run the ball and get the ball to his playmakers. DJ Moore being their number one receiver, they just got from Carolina. I don't know, it's a season or two before that. Get the ball in his hands. He's your playmaker, and that's what they did. Cole Kmet, a really, really good tight end, and they used him. Imagine that, using your tight end. So that's one thing I think we should look at. Michael Mayer, hopefully, being used much, much more than he was his rookie season. So that's a good sign. Those are all good signs. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do with the rest of our receiving core. Are we going to keep Hunter Renfrow around? Not really sure. I'd like to see Hunter Renfrow around. I think he has a lot more to give than what he had the opportunity to give last season. So, but if he doesn't, we still have Trey Tucker kind of in that role as well. Trey Tucker can definitely stretch the field. Devontae Adams isn't too much of a stretch the field kind of guy. He's more of a short route runner and making people miss, yards after catch. Everybody loves that yak. So, but the one thing that gives me pause with all these totals, these great rushing totals. In 2022, the team was number one in the league in rushing. They set a Bears franchise record. That's right, Bears franchise record in rushing. It's a hell of a feat considering that the Bears franchise has been around a long, long time, since pretty much the beginning, I believe. But 2022, 3,014 rush yards. That was league best. And 177.3 yards rushing per game, also league best. So the thing that gives me pause about this is Justin Fields. So if you take Justin Fields away, what does the rushing totals look like? So let's go ahead and look back at 2022 where they set the franchise mark. Justin Fields had 1,143 yards rushing. A hell of a season for Justin Fields on the ground. So you take that away, and they are left with 1,871 yards rushing, which was actually 23rd in the league then. So below average. Even if you put an average a quarterback that scrambles a little bit, that'll raise the totals up a little bit. That might get you to 20. So in 2023, this past season, you take Justin Fields out, who did miss a couple games due to injury. He had 657 yards rushing. You take that out of your total, and they ended up with 1,742 yards rushing, which would have been good for 21st in the league. So you take a heavy running quarterback out of that system. What's it going to be? Now, granted, you go back and look at it, the running backs that they were dealing with there in Chicago, not really top of the line type running backs. Uh, so, I think for the most part, they did average at least 4 yards or more per carry. I think Foreman actually was like 3.8, 3.9, so he might have been just a tick below. But, if we can get Josh Jacobs rolling, back to, rushing title Josh Jacobs, back to potential MVP candidate Josh Jacobs, that's a different story then. And, with the 1-2 punch of Zamir White and Josh Jacobs, that could be huge. That could be really big for a Luke Getsy offense where you don't need a Justin Fields rushing for 700, 800, 900, 1,000 yards. You can have a scrambling quarterback get, throughout the season, 200 yards and still be at the top or near the top of the league in rushing. But we need to revamp that offensive line and have a Josh Jacobs from 2022, finding that hole, making people miss, and powering through tackles, much like Zamir White was at the end of the season there. So a lot of good to look forward to. I think Luke Getsy. Oh, I did it again. Luke Getsy. A lot of good things. I'm not overly stoked, overly pumped about the hire, but I think it's not a bad hire. I'm willing to give it a chance. So I know a lot of Raider fans were kind of up in arms about it. They wanted Cliff Kingsbury. They wanted that splash. And Luke Getsy is not the splash. So, or even that the lad from L.A., the Robinson kid. I think it was Robinson. His last name was. Even him, he was getting a lot of attention, coming from the Sean McVay tree and all that good stuff. Probably had fancy hair and tight pants, just like Sean McVay. Wearing skinny jeans all the time. Makes me uncomfortable when he's on the sideline. It's the fancy hair and the skinny jeans. It's just, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It leaves nothing to the imagination. I don't need that. Bad enough we got dudes out there with the football pants on. We don't need our coaches with tight jeans on either. I don't know. So looking ahead to potential quarterback type moves or options the Raiders might have this offseason. First, looking at the draft, top 6 I did. That's it. First round, potentially early second round type guys. Of course, there's Caleb Williams. Everybody knows, quarterback out of USC. Last year, 3,633 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 142 yards rushing. So a little bit of a scrambler. Threw for a lot of yards. Didn't turn the ball over much. The season before, I think he had more touchdown passes. Drake May out of North Carolina, getting a lot of pub right now. Last season, he passed 3,608 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 449 yards passing. Not really 100% familiar with Drake May. I don't watch a whole lot of college football. I am familiar with some of these names, but haven't watched them play. Not all that much. And here's the big name. The name I think a lot of Raider fans want the Raiders to get. Jaden Daniels out of LSU. Last season passed for 3,812 yards, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,134 yards rushing as well. The dude was balling. Straight up balling. Not too much, it seems like he's the total package. But sometimes, somebody that has a season like that in college, you put them in the pros and they get exposed a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. But there is a chance the Raiders, I was reading an article before that the Raiders could move up in the draft to get Jaden Daniels. And I said a lot of rumors, a lot of stuff's rolling around about that. But we'll wait and see what happens. I think if anything does happen, it probably won't happen until the day of the draft. kind of see where the Bears are going, and because I don't think they'll trade up to number one. I think that they probably could trade up to the top 5 and still get Jaden Daniels, but I don't think they need to trade the number one. It seems like it's more likely that the Bears would probably go after Caleb Williams if they are not going to trade away Justin Fields. If they're not totally sold on Justin Fields, so I'm not really sure if they are. They aren't. I don't know what they're doing with him. So, but Jaden Daniels is a shiny diamond out there. At number 4, I have written down Michael Penix out of Washington. We all seen him in the national championship game last season. Had a terrific season, 4,903 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 8 yards rushing. So the dude is not a runner. With his injury history, maybe he should run a little bit. Get out of the pocket instead of standing back there and getting killed. Maybe learn how to move a little bit more. Pick up 1 or 2 yards and get out of bounds type of guy. But 8 yards rushing, that's rough. Number 5, Bo Nix, the guy I like. If the Raiders aren't going to move up, if they stay at 13, I'd like to see them try to get Bo Nix if he's there. 4,500 yards passing, 45 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 234 yards rushing. He's a scrambler. He's not a full-fledged runner like a Jaden Daniels or a Justin Fields, but he's a scrambler. Getting out of trouble, get what you can, get down or get out of bounds. Self-preservation. Getting out of bounds and getting down without getting clobbered. But I like Bo Nix. J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan, national champion. He's starting to get a little bit more pub as well. I was kind of surprised when he declared for the NFL draft. I thought he could have benefited from another year of college football, but with his coach Harbaugh moving on to the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, he decided to move to the NFL, to move on to the NFL to forego his senior season and enter the draft. So he had 2,991 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 202 yards rushing. So you have to figure with Harbaugh being his coach, he's probably really pro ready. And some of the stuff I was reading, that he has a terrific arm, can make all the throws, and should get some serious looks in the first round. Now, whether that happens or not, I'm not really sure. The big board had him listed as the 55th overall pick, or 55th overall ranked player. That's what I should say. So if the Raiders do decide not to go quarterback first round, there is a chance that J.J. McCarthy, if they feel like he's their franchise quarterback, which I'm not 100% sold on that, they could grab him in the second round. I've also seen some articles about potentially Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina as well. I think in the later rounds, I do believe. But you'd have to imagine if the Raiders are going to decide on going for a franchise quarterback, Aiden O'Connell's not the guy. It's going to be in the first round, and they'll probably trade up. And if they and I'm totally cool with that. I'm totally if it costs the Raiders two first round picks or 3 first round picks, if it's your franchise quarterback, it's worth it. If it's somebody that can make you a perennially I can't say it, a good team year in and year, I can't talk, a good team year in and year out, that it's worth it. If it can get you to the playoffs consistently, can get you as a Super Bowl contender, it's worth it to give up those 3 years of first round draft picks and maybe like a number 2 or number 3. It's worth it then. I'm not sold on Justin Fields being a franchise quarterback, but maybe in the right system. But he's already in that system, so and that's one of the things with Luke Getsy getting the offensive coordinator job. A lot of speculation right away went to Justin Fields. all the Raiders will trade for Justin Fields now that they got the offensive coordinator. But then there's some stuff that I was reading saying that Luke Getsy didn't work. I don't want to say didn't work well with Justin Fields, but I guess Justin Fields didn't fit his system well. So I guess he wants more of a, so you still want that scrambling quarterback, but a quarterback that's a little bit more accurate, a better thrower than what Justin Fields is. So I don't know. Looking at a couple free agent quarterbacks that piqued my interest. Kirk Cousins. He lights it up wherever he goes, whether it's Washington or Minnesota. Ryan Tannehill. I'm not a big fan of Ryan Tannehill. I don't even know why I wrote Ryan Tannehill down. Baker Mayfield. He'll probably stay in Tampa Bay, but he's a scrappy guy who can get out of the pocket and scramble a little bit. And Jameis Winston. That's a name that really has me curious. It does some of the stupidest shit you ever seen. I mean, like, says some of the dumbest stuff, but the dude can sling it. He can straight up sling it. He can't throw for a lot of touchdowns. It's his mistakes are so glaring, so many interceptions. But if you can reel that in a little bit, Jameis Winston can be a big time quarterback. I don't know. I don't think New Orleans is going to re-sign him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him wearing a different colored jersey next season. So, but yeah, I like Kirk Cousins and Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston really had me curious because there's a lot of potential there yet. So, I'm going to hit up a couple comments real quick before I move on. Stacy says, I happen to like Sean's tight pants. Most of the ladies like Sean's tight pants. He's a metrosexual, as they call it. Todd said, Brian wants to know if the silver in your beard is because you're a Raiders super fan. No, it's because I am getting old. Tell Shipton I am getting old. Thanks for checking the show out, Todd. Thank you for commenting. I'll tell you what, Shipton, he's getting old too, so it won't be too long before a little bit of gray starts showing up in his little scruff. Hey, the mayor of Las Vegas, Vegas Rob, what's up, brother? Rob says, what's up, Ken? Greetings from Las Vegas. Go Raiders, just win, baby. Yes, sir. Hey, Rob, if you're still watching, I guess comment was from 5 minutes ago. If you're still watching, what's the overall feeling? Like, what are you hearing in Las Vegas right now with the hiring of Luke Getsy? Or what are the fans thinking of Antonio Pierce as the head coach so far? And any rumblings about a quarterback talk there? If you're still watching, I know you're a busy man, Rob. You're probably getting ready for work out there in Sin City. But if you're still watching, I'd like to know your thoughts on that. All right, so let's move on to a little bit of LA Kings talk. I'll be bouncing back and forth. So if you still have any comments or whatever about football or the Raiders, if you want to throw out your Super Bowl predictions, throw out your Super Bowl predictions. I'm curious. I'm picking the 49ers 31-20. And I'll tell you one thing real quick. Taylor Swift. All right. My thoughts on Taylor Swift. So she's getting a lot of negative feedback, or a lot of negativity, because whenever the Chiefs play, they constantly go up to Taylor and show Taylor and Swifties and all that good stuff. And you like her or don't like her. I don't like her music. That's not my thing. But I'll tell you what. She plays her own instruments. She writes her own damn music. She's a hell of a performer. I mean, cut her some slack. Give her a break here. She's just watching her I guess boyfriend, whatever the hell he is. Just watching her boyfriend play a little bit of football. And it's not her. She's not calling for the cameras, say, "Hey, cameras, look at me." Yeah, hey. No, she's not doing that. She's just cheering for her boyfriend, in a box, in a suite. And the camera goes, so it's not her fault. If you want to bitch and moan about something, bitch and moan to Fox or CBS or NBC for showing it all the time. Bitch about those, the media, the TV and stuff. It's not Taylor's fault. She's a as much as it pains me to say, she's a national treasure. Again, I'm not a Taylor Swift listener. I can't really name more than one song. I know there's that the Blank Space song. I think that's the song that I heard covered by a heavy metal band. That's why I kind of know that one. And I'm trying to think of how it goes, and so I can sing it here for people, but I can't think of how it goes. I don't know. I can't even get to it. I got a blank space, baby. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe next time I'll sing a little bit of Taylor Swift for the millions and millions out there. All right, let me get a sip out of my octopus mug here. This is the octopus from Finding Dory. I think his name is Hank. I like Hank. He's funny. Kind of angry. A little bit of awkwardness. I think he only has 7 arms. But a big heart. So, helping Dory out. Anyway, let's get to the Kings here. Like I said, keep throwing out any comments or questions in football or whatever you want. I'll give it. It doesn't matter to me what it is. We've talked about my beard so far, so and McVay's tight pants, Sean McVay's tight pants. So everything's open here. All right, so LA Kings, they took that horse and they sent him to the glue factory. Kings fired Todd McClellan, and it was kind of overdue. But I said on here before that I felt like they give him to the All-Star break to turn it around. I felt like I think it was the last 10 games, or I think his last 7 games. I said he had to win at least 5 of those 7 games in order for him to keep his job, and I think he won 1. So I mean, it's a really rough stretch in January, and I knew January was going to be a tough month. So many terrific teams that the Kings were playing. I think every team that we played was over 500 except for one. So all those teams are all in playoff contention, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I didn't see what happening. With the Kings tanking as much as they did, it got really bad really fast, and they just couldn't get their heads above water. So unfortunately, you can't fire the players. It's easier to fire the coach. So Todd McClellan, I salute you. Goodbye. I like Todd McClellan. He is a good coach. No matter where he goes, he can't seem to get over the hump. From everything I understand, he was with the Oilers before, and he got the team, built the team up, got the team really good, but just couldn't win the big game. Couldn't get out of the first round. Couldn't, just win the series. Do anything. Win the big game, and they canned him. They fired him, and so he comes to LA, builds the roster back up. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. I want to say 5 years ago. The Kings weren't looking all that good. The roster was in shambles. Was able to rebuild it, build it back up. The last 2 seasons, win the playoffs, but the last 2 seasons, first round exits. And already coming into this season, he was kind of on the hot seat where if the Kings would have made the playoffs or would make the playoffs this season and they get ousted again in the first round, there was probably a decent chance that McClellan would have been fired anyway. But they didn't get a chance to see it through. So I still believe the Kings will make the playoffs. They're sitting right now currently in the number 1 wild card spot. But now there's a coaching change. So we'll see how they deal with that out of the All-Star break. As the Kings hire Jim Hiller as the interim head coach. He was an assistant on the staff already, so he has a lot of. I'm not even going to try to say the word. I'm not going to try. I'm thinking about. I'm not even going to try to say the word. I can't even tell you what the word is. Familiar. I can't say it. I'm not going to try to say it. I can never say the word, even when I'm going okay with talking. I cannot say that damn word. So I'm not even going to try. So he's very familiar with the roster. So the word is familiar, but you have to add itty at the end. You know what I mean? I can't say it. I just can't say that word. Familiarity. I can't. It sounds stupid. I can't do it. I just tried. Now I'm mad. I'm upset. So he's familiar with the roster already. So it's not a new voice per se that the Kings will be getting, but it's a different voice. It's a voice that they already heard, they already know, but it's not the main voice that they were used to hearing. So it's going to be interesting. Jim Hiller is also one of the guys that Pierre-Luc Dubois seems to confide in a lot more. Like there were reports that I heard that during practices throughout the season, you'd see him talking with Jim Hiller a lot more than you'd see him talking with Todd McClellan. So I think that's a big thing, especially with all the struggles that Pierre-Luc Dubois has had this season since coming on with the Kings, being the big offseason trade that has worked out like shit. And so maybe Hiller is the Pierre-Luc Dubois whisperer. Maybe he can figure this out, get Dubois on a bit of a streak here, or a hot streak, get his season turned around. If we can get his ass turned around, I will be in pretty good shape. But if he's going to continue sloshing through this season, we're going to continue losing. We need Pierre-Luc Dubois to be at least somewhat decent. He's not somewhat decent right now. So Jim Hiller played for LA back in 1992 to 1993. I think he was drafted in the 10th round, maybe. Like I said, he was brought in as an assistant in 2022, and he was also an assistant this year, 2023. He goes ahead and he hires former Ottawa Senators head coach, who was fired back in December, DJ Smith, as an assistant. I don't have a whole lot about that. He spent the last few seasons with Ottawa. A couple seasons he had him over 500, which is pretty good for the Senators. And that's all I got to say about that. I really don't know a whole lot about DJ Smith, so I can't even muddle my way through this one. I can't just throw out nonsensical stuff to sound smart, because I know nothing about this. I don't know anything about DJ Smith. Jim Hiller, reading a little bit about him, but DJ Smith looks like an angry fella. I can say that. He looks angry. He looks very tense. It looks like, from the few pictures that I've seen of him, he looks like he has a little bit of RBF, resting bitch face. But I mean, those could have been pictures. It could have been a tense time in the game from these pictures that I've seen. I don't know, but he looks like an angry fella. So maybe he's the yeller. You bring in a yeller to yell at the guys, but I don't know. A bit of good news: Victor Arvidsson was rejoining the team. Started skating with the team actually yesterday, back at practice, which is great. He's been out the whole season with back surgery, and really need Arvidsson back. Last year, 26 goals. The year before that, 20. He's scored 30 goals in a season a couple times with Nashville. So the potential there for high productivity is there. But we also need him on our power play. Our power play has tanked since last season. Last season it was near the top of the league. Right now it's in the middle of the league. I think it's sitting at 17 or 18, I believe. I think that's what it was last time I looked it up. It's been a shit show on the power play. And, missing his stick out there is definitely evident. Getting him back in the special team is going to be huge. And just getting him out there, that can lift the team's spirits up a little bit. Seeing him back out there, skating in adds another threat. So then that could also loosen up Pierre-Luc Dubois a little bit, depending on what the line assignments are going to be when Arvidsson does come back full time. He's going to travel with the team on their next road trip. So, there's potential we could see him, in the next week, the next couple of days, or so. The first game coming back off of the All-Star break tomorrow night is against his home against Edmonton, but after that we go on the road out here on the East Coast. So, there's a chance we could see Arvidsson. My fingers and toes are crossed as they can be anyway. So looking at the standings, 1 second here. I gotta type in another topic I forgot about. So looking at the standings, real quick. In the Pacific Division, we have Vancouver still sitting up top, having a terrific season. 51 games played. They're 34, 12, and 5 with 73 points. The Vegas Golden Knights sitting right behind them, 52 games played, 31 wins, 15 losses, 6 overtime losses for 68 points. They just snapped the Edmonton Oilers' 16-game win streak, so good stuff there for the Golden Knights. Edmonton with 46 games played, 29 wins, 16 losses, 1 overtime loss, 59 points. They're sitting at the number 3 spot there in the Pacific Division. So those three teams there, Vancouver, Vegas Golden Knights, and Edmonton, they're guaranteed a playoff spot. If they're to end today, those 3 teams, they're guaranteed a playoff spot. Sitting in the 4th spot, the number 1 wild card spot are the LA Kings with 48 games played, 23 wins, 15 losses, 10 overtime losses. And that's the worst thing about January is all the overtime losses that we had. We got a point out of them. We wanted those 2 points. I think we had, I want to say 6 overtime losses just in the month of January. I could be wrong about that. Does seem kind of high, but there was quite a few where either is right away in overtime or is a shootout loss. It sucks. It's nice to get the point, but those 2-point wins are very important, and it's really smacking our asses right now. We have 56 points, and Calgary, 51 games played, 24 wins, 22 losses, 5 overtime losses, and 53 points. So looking at overall the Western Conference standings, Vancouver is sitting up top with 73 points. Then you have Dallas Stars sitting in second place, 31, 14, and 6, 68 points. Colorado, 32, 16, and 4, 68 points. Then the Vegas Golden Knights, 31, 15, and 6, 68 points. The Winnipeg Jets sitting in 5th right now, 30 wins, 14 losses, 5 overtime losses, 65 points. Edmonton, 29, 16, and 1, 59 points. LA, 23, 15, and 10, 56 points. The 8th team is St. Louis, 26, 21, and 2, 54 points. Nashville on the outside right now, 26, 23, 2, 54 points. And Calgary, 24, 22, and 5, 53 points. If the playoffs were to start today, Vancouver would be the 1 seed. They'd be playing against St. Louis, the Blues. The Blues and Nashville have the same amount of points, but the Blues have played less games. So they have a couple games in hand. So that's why they're ahead of Nashville right now. The number 2 team, the Dallas Stars, would play the Kings in the 2-7 matchup. The 3-6 matchup would be Colorado and Edmonton, which would be a fantastic series. And another great series would be the Vegas Golden Knights, the number 4 seed, defending Stanley Cup champions, against the Winnipeg Jets, the number 5 seed. I think that'd be a fantastic series as well. A couple former Kings there with the Jets, as we traded him to Winnipeg for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and it has bit us in the ass. So Gabe Vilardi, Ally Follow, Rasmus Kupari, all those guys there with Winnipeg now. Sucks. I was a big Iafallo and Vilardi fan, so I was really bummed when we traded them away. But I'm like, well, if Pierre-Luc Dubois can put up the numbers like he's been, almost uh, Adrian Kempe-ish type numbers, then we'll be good. I'll be good with it. But Velarde's been outscoring him. I'm not sure about Iafallo, but yeah. Fucking Pierre-Luc Dubois sucks ass. Get me all angry and bothered now. So finally, for today, I'll look ahead to this upcoming week's games before I'm back on next week. Saturday, the Kings' first game back from the All-Star break. They'll be playing Edmonton Oilers, and they're, like I said earlier, 29, 16, and 1, 59 points. Only 3 points ahead of the Kings. Feels like they're a lot further ahead, but it's only 3 points. So if the Kings can get a win there, build some momentum, who knows? Who knows what could happen? February's another tough month. We're playing at some really decent teams. We got a game with Boston. I think 2 games with Vancouver. I think 2 games with Edmonton. But we also have a couple games against the Blue Jackets, the Ducks, and stuff like that. Nashville, Buffalo. So there's some very winnable games there, and then there's some games that are going to be very, very hard, very tough. And again, back to January, a lot of our losses in January were games where the Kings were ahead 2 goals, 1 goal, and just couldn't hold on to it. So hopefully our goaltending will also straighten up and fly right. So after the game on Saturday versus Edmonton, we go on the road to Buffalo. They're sitting at 22, 24, and 1, 48 points. We just lost to them I think it was 2 weeks ago, which is one of the final nails in Todd McClellan's coffin, losing to the Sharks in Buffalo. Not good at all. The next Thursday, at the New Jersey Devils, they're sitting at 25, 21, and 3, 53 points. I've been poking Mrs. Fry to go to this game. It doesn't look like I made any headway. So I'm not giving up yet. I'm still going to poke a little bit, but it's not looking good for the Bat Frie. I really wanted to go to that game, but it is what it is. Things cost money, and yeah. So that's the look ahead to next week. Should be a tough week. The Devils over 500. The Oilers, still coming in pretty hot, even though they lost to the Golden Knights. But you have Buffalo sitting there. So if we can, steal one, beat Buffalo and steal one of those other 2 guys, I'd love to beat Edmonton. I hate Edmonton. I hate that Leon Draisaitl. He's such a dickhead. That's one of my favorite words to call people, dickhead. I get that from a former coworker, the great Remo Piccioni. He used to call people dickhead all the time, and he'd smile. Yeah, dickhead, he'd go, and he'd smile at you. So I think that's funny. So I use that word a lot. But Leon Draisaitl, I can't stand him. He's a dickhead. A couple guys on that team I can't stand. I think Connor McDavid's fantastic. There's the reason why he's the best player in the league. He's phenomenal. So yeah. So that does that. Let me do my sponsor reads before I get the heck out of here and hit the sack. I got work tonight, a little bit of OT. There we go. Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. They have 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The office in New Jersey is located Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in the steel city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And then in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980 Or, once again, just use that number 1-800-HURT123, 1-800-HURT123 for Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. And then we got Monkey Colt Coffee. Love me some Monkey Colt Coffee. They got the bourbon chocolate chip infused coffee. Terrific. Toasted coconut rum, my favorite. They got the Sumatran blends, a very good coffee, medium roast coffee, whole bean or ground. They have a newer blend, the organic blend, Perula, Florida. I have not tried that one yet. They also have golden honey agave coffee, which is very good. I do enjoy that one as well. They got that. Head on over to the swag shop. Get yourself a sweet-ass coffee mug, tumbler cup. For you skinny people out there, they got T-shirts. They don't have fat guy sizes. Not yet. And what 2X? I mean, that's not really a fat guy. It's kind of like a thick guy, or somebody with broad shoulders. But they don't have fat guy sizes. They also have cold brew pitcher, K-cup adapter, and also don't forget your Paradise rum cake. They also are selling right now a honey, like some sort of honey, to go with their golden honey agave coffee. So that's pretty cool. Check that out as well at monkeycoldcoffee.com. And at checkout, use that promo code OOTB Sports for 10% off your order. The promo code, once again, is OOTB Sports for 10% off your order at monkeycoldcoffee.com. So big game this Sunday, Super Bowl. Like I said, I got the 49ers 31-20. It should be a pretty good game, I think anyway. And we'll see what happens. I think McCaffrey's going to be your MVP. I think he's going to have a huge game. Chiefs defense is pretty nasty, but there's so many different weapons with San Francisco. As long as Purdy doesn't turn that ball over, try to fit the ball into to stupid spots or in bad situations, I think the 49ers will be just fine. And then we'll have new Super Bowl champions. All right, so that's all I got. I appreciate everybody for checking the show out. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. I will be back on again next Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel, 10 a.m. Friday morning next week. And that's all I have. Just win, baby. Go, Kings, go. See you later.